Happy 2024. Take the Blackers, what we call you all now. My name is Dan Selcke. You are Daniel Roman, and we are the co-hosts of Take the Black Live, the winteriscoming.net chat show, where we go over all the latest and greatest news in the worlds of fantasy, sci-fi, movies, TV. Thanks to everybody showing up. Hello, Nicole. Hello, Julie. Happy New Year to you all. It is good to be back. Looking forward to a whole new year of scintillating insights and breaking news and just enjoying our company, your company, everybody's company. Daniel, how's your 2024 going so far?
It's off to an interesting and nice start.
Terrible.
It's been great. I had a very relaxing holiday. I'm super excited to be back. Hello to everybody in the chat. Nice to see you there, Robert Harris. Dan, how was your new year?
Crazy. Brief banter. We've been moving. This is a whole new house I'm in here. God, it was exhausting. Like between Christmas, work, moving, finding subleasers for our old place, moving into this new place. Absolutely insane, but it's finally calming down, finally. And I just want to relax by the only way I know how, which is talking about all things TV, movies, sci-fi, fantasy with you and you all out there. Hey, Robert, how you doing? And on our last show, which was 2 weeks ago, before
a
Christmas,
year ago,
break for Christmas.
It was last year.
It was last year. I don't want to fight you on pedantry saying a year ago, the difference between, but I guess technically, good call.
That's fair. Fair.
We broke down the top 15 shows of 2023. What was our number one? The Last of Us, of course it was. We ended up doing that.
Yep.
And for the first show of this year, we are going to forecast the 15 most anticipated shows of 2024, the 15 most hype shows, if you will, the ones that we're most excited about, the ones that we think have the best chance of popping off and becoming something, the shows we think by the end of this year, we'll be looking back and saying, that was a good one. Should we put that in first, second, or third? That's what we're hoping for with this list of 15. Now, we couldn't fit on every show coming up this year. We had limited to 15 because we have standards and we are classy. So we are going to leave some shows off the final list, but in the spirit of equanimity, let's go through some honorable mentions first. We're not going to talk about Beacon 23, which was an MGM Plus sci-fi show that you watched.
I did. Yeah, I actually finished Beacon 23 over the break, and I enjoyed it a lot. And Beacon 23 is coming back next year, but we had to make some hard decisions about what we could fit on the list in order to keep it to 15. So alas, Beacon 23 is not on the list.
It doesn't quite have like the mind share, I guess, to just get on there. But I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
Severance season 2, really cool show, Apple TV Plus. I don't know if it's actually going to come out this year, so we decided to bump that.
They're being cagey about release dates, so we're going to be cagey right back and not include it on our list.
We will not discuss The Penguin, the Batman spinoff show starring Colin Farrell as the Penguin. As fun as that would be, I don't know what that's just going to be like, but we'll find out when it comes. We're not talking about it now. Neither of the Marvel shows coming out this year making our list, either Agatha All Along or whatever they're calling it, or Daredevil Born Again, because Daredevil Born Again might not actually make it out this year. And the Agatha show, it's starting to get tired of Marvel stuff, and I don't know what they can do about it, but putting out some great material could be a start. So we're just going to glide past Marvel things.
Yeah, this is it's a testament to where Marvel's at in our, general public opinion, but also our sphere, that Marvel, that was when we started discussing which shows were going to be on the most hyped list. That was one of the first cuts where I was like, are either of us that excited? Marvel needs to win back the goodwill this year. That's
there you go.
The hope for them. What else is in the honorable mentions? I'll stop cutting you off now so you can actually.
Oh, no, you should. I want to be a conversation.
Okay.
And Julie wants the Umbrella Academy on there. You'll have to wait and see, Julie, in a couple of minutes. I swear to God. It's on there. Don't worry. Where, though? We'll see. And Nicole has good bets with House of the Dragon, Three-Body Problem, After the Last Airbender, all on there. I guess you'll find out, but yeah, they're all on there. Other honorable mentions, Vikings Valhalla Season 3, Invincible season 2, part 2, just a little not quite enough, and the third season of Vox Machina, which are all good shows, but just didn't quite make the cut. But Daniel, what is on our list of most hype shows for 2024?
Okay, should I just run through the list and then
Why
we'll go
not?
through? Okay,
Why not?
so on our 15 shows we're going to be ranking here, we have House of the Dragon. Big
Duh.
surprise. Welcome. In case you didn't know, we are a Game of Thrones website. Um, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power season
It's back,
2.
baby.
That's right. It is back. Look out. Elrond has some politics to do some stuff. Oh, Angie Beth says The White Lotus. Sorry, Angie. It's not sci-fi or fantasy. So even though we're both, I assume, going to watch it, it's not on the list.
Oh, totally.
So yeah, House of the Dragon, Rings of Power, Halo season 2, Avatar: The Last Airbender, the live action adaptation.
Nicole's correct.
Nicole's correct. Three Body Problem, which is the new show
Woo!
from Game of Thrones showrunners David Benioff and Dan Weiss, based on a very influential Chinese science fiction book series.
Wow.
Fallout over on Prime Video from the Westworld creators, based on a hit video game series. Doctor Who season 14 with the new doc, Nkuti Gatwa, is out this year. So we're going to discuss that one.
That
The
could be cute.
Umbrella, it could be cute. The Umbrella Academy, fourth and final
Season
season.
4, of course.
Arcane season 2. This is one I'm real excited for. Arcane is coming back next year. The Boys season 4. And then Star Trek Strange New Worlds season 3. We can throw in Discovery season 5 too. But Star Trek, we're going to talk about Star Trek. There's a lot of Star Trek. Yeah. Star Wars The Acolytes. And we may also mention the Skeleton Crew, which is the other Star Wars show supposedly coming out next year. Couple left. The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. That's the Rick and Michonne spinoff. Interview with the Vampire season 2. Yeah, that one's coming back. And last, but certainly not least, Outlander season 7, part 2. And that one gets on for a part 2 because it's like 8 episodes. The second part. It's practically a whole other season. They did a supersized 7th season, unlike Invincible, which is just 4 more episodes. So sorry, Invincible. Release all your episodes in 1 year and we can put you on a list.
Surely, I'd love to talk more about Invincible, but
right?
I worry they're sort of bungling the marketing for that show, or like the rollout a bit. I hope not, because I think it's really good, but we'll see what the next episodes have in store. But no, let's get to it, Daniel. Why don't you and I give our definitive, unassailable, and completely correct rankings of how hype these shows are. And yeah, to the person who suggested The White Lotus, I'll watch The White Lotus, Angie, but yeah, this is mostly for sci-fi and fantasy shows. And I don't think we could quite put The White Lotus on there, even though it's out of this world, how entertaining it is. All right, Daniel, I'll get us started really quickly and just say what I think is going to be pretty, I'm going to guess this is kind of uncontested, but I don't know, we'll see. Is there a reality where House of the Dragon isn't at the top of the list, number 1?
I want to say yes, just to be a contrarian, but no, let's be real, there's not. I think it's pretty safe to say that out of the shows on this list, House of the Dragon is probably the one we're all most excited for. What do you think, Dan? Should there be a reality, some weird wormhole reality, where there's a different show as number 1 on this list?
First, my short answer is no. My second answer, after just responded to Julie here, quick play 2, of course you can. Toss out where you think that these shows should go on the list, and we do listen to you. I remember that the last time when we did the show, the Best of 2023, I think Julie, you suggested something, and we put it on a higher spot because you suggested it. It helps break ties. It does. House of the Dragon, I mean, not only was this Game of Thrones prequel series one of the more talked about shows in 2022. It actually was quite good, which
Yeah.
isn't necessarily always guaranteed. I genuinely want to see what happens. I feel like that show really conjured up some of the old excitement around Game of Thrones. I thought it
Yep.
had, hopefully still has, the kind of gripping drama and the ability to inspire discussion between episodes that the old show used to have. I want to see what happens next. I want to see what happens with Rhaenyra. I want to see how the war goes. I want to see what crazy shenanigans Daemon Targaryen gets up to next. I want to see if there's any
Yeah.
more inappropriate romances between close blood relations. I want to see
Probably.
some drag, probably. I want to see some dragon fights. I genuinely want to see what happens next. They have my attention. They have my interest. I think it's number one, and I don't think it could be terrible. Like, this is most hype. It's
It's
not
not.
best. So we'll see what happens at the end of the year. But right now, in terms of what I want to see, that's number one.
Yeah, so that's an important distinction here. So these rankings are which ones we are most excited to watch and which ones we think will make the biggest splash, not necessarily which ones we think will be the finest cinema. But yeah, I agree with you. I totally agree. I think House of the Dragon season one was great. Season two is going to be more familiar in terms of like the format, without the
Sure.
time jumps and stuff
Nothing wrong with
to
that.
like Game of Thrones viewers. We're gonna have some big battles. We're gonna have some dramatic deaths. It's gonna be epic. There's just no question that it's our most anticipated show of the year. We would probably be in need of finding different jobs if it wasn't. So let's let's get so from House of the Dragon, unassailable one. Do we want to jump down to 15, or do we want to? How do you do this, Dan?
Well, we're getting some good suggestions. So I think people seem to be in agreement that House of the Dragon should be number one, which is great. Julie is saying that anything Star Wars at the bottom, and she wants to
Mm,
see Umbrella Academy number two, Outlander number three, The Boys number four, Walking Dead number five, which are all good suggestions.
it's going to be
Also,
hard for
Robert
you,
Harris
Julie,
is
this show.
it might be. Maybe not, we'll see. And Robert Harris is recommending The Blue-Eyed Samurai, which I hear is great. I still haven't
Oh,
watched
it's
that one,
great.
but I should get around to it because everyone tells me it's wonderful.
George R. R. Martin
Um,
liked it.
he
Even
did.
George is
George R. R.
recommending
Martin,
it.
and George R. R. Martin has standards. I was gonna say he
He
has.
he absolutely does.
Yeah, are they high? Are they low? I'd say they're there. He definitely has standards. I do like the suggestion of what about in last? Would everything Star Wars go down there, or is there something else in this list that would go better in the last place spot?
No, there is not. So we'll be transparent
Halo.
here for the viewers. I almost argued against even having Star Wars on this
Sure.
list because I'm so not hyped. Just like Marvel, I think Star Wars has a lot of goodwill with fans. It needs to win back, even though maybe a little less, because like a lot of people liked Ahsoka. I was
Yeah.
real lukewarm on Ahsoka. I liked some things about it, but I felt they really dropped the ball with other things. Um, I think that they're diluting the brands a bit, just like Marvel. So yeah,
Mhm.
is there something you're less hyped for out of our 15 shows than The Acolyte? Even though
I mean,
that will
of the
probably
ones,
be good, but it's just Star Wars.
it's God, it sucks for them so much. You're
It
right.
does.
Even if it is good, it's just hard to summon enthusiasm these days for Marvel, for Star Wars, which is their own doing. They put out so
Yes.
much. I just find it hard to get excited
Yeah.
about the Acolyte. And I know I kept writing Skeleton Crew as Skeleton Key. I guess that's how little I care about it. They might be decent, but lukewarm has been the temperature of the galaxy far, far away for a minute now.
Yep.
And I just find it hard to summon much anticipation. I mean, I could
Yeah.
see Halo being at the bottom of the list. I don't have any interest in that either.
Um, I think Halo is probably going to be near the bottom of the list, but yeah, I'm going to say I think Star Wars should be lower. Because
Okay.
personally, if I get to be the tie-breaking vote on Halo, which I guess it's not really a tie-breaking, whatever, I think I'm more excited to see what Halo does with a second season than
Hmm.
like another Star Wars show launching. Even
Mm,
though this one has like Carrie Ann Moss, it has the guy from Squid Game, it has a good cast. It's
true.
just like, yeah, it's just hard to summon enthusiasm, like you said. That's kind of what it comes back to. And I don't say this happily or lightly. I'm a very long time Star Wars nerd from childhood, but eh. So yeah, we can put Halo at
Cool.
14 if you want.
I'm good for Star Wars at 15. The Acolyte, Skeleton Key Crew, whatever it ends up being.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got to try something different. They've got to all be as good as Andor, or they just have to cut back and just focus on one. That's what I would have done from the start. I have some folk talking about Orphan Black, which apparently might be getting a remake this year. I recall
I
vaguely
think
they were
it's a
going to remake that
spinoff, right?
show, a spinoff. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
on the list because we forgot about it. There's a lot of TV out there. We can't put everything on there. But
true.
Orphan Black was cool. I
I
have to
haven't
check
seen
that
it.
out. As for number
Um,
14, could
yeah.
Halo go in there? Anything
Well,
else
what
that
else
could,
is
yeah, like be on that level of meh? I mean, okay, you're not gonna like this. Some of the people watching. I mean, personally, I am not that excited about. I I just I can't get into Outlander. I've never made an earnest huge attempt. It's not going to be number 14. It's too big, it's too beloved, it's
it's too
too
good.
popular. It's too
Like
good. Fine.
Outlander,
So,
whether you like it or not, it's a good show. Like it's a well-made, well-written,
sure.
well-produced, great show.
Okay, not for number
Okay, so
14.
Outlander
What
is low
else?
on your list. I'm
Eh,
so sorry to Julie, but I think the Umbrella Academy is pretty low on my list too.
I like the Umbrella Academy. I mean, what I've seen, I didn't watch the most recent season. I
Yeah.
like
You didn't
how
even watch it. You didn't watch the most recent
but
season?
I liked the first two. I liked
Okay,
how kind of fizzy and fun and whimsical they are.
that's fair.
They are action superhero dramas with a healthy sense of humor and whimsy, which I appreciate. I like the actors, like the performances. I heard season three was a little bit of a step down. And I know season four is going to
Yeah, it
be
was a little
uh
forgettable.
oh, so you did watch it.
I have seen all of it.
Okay.
Yes, and I thought season three it was decent, but I watched it and I haven't thought about it once since, which is always one of those things where it's kind of like that speaks. Unlike Halo, weirdly enough, a lot of people really hated that show, but I'm not into those games really. So I was pleasantly surprised by
Okay.
how it picked up near the end, especially. Did some interesting things. So yeah, the Umbrella Academy. Um, what are your thoughts here, Dan? I guess so.
I want to put
We're
Halo there at
I
14.
I am open to making that concession if we can we put nah, it's a non-conditional concession. I think that's fair.
Okay. It's just again, Halo, it's not like I've spent a ton of time pouring over it. I do
Yeah.
think it remember, we're talking hype, not quality. Like the fact that they poured all this money into this big sci-fi drama based off of a very popular video game series, and they've succeeded in getting practically nobody to talk about it. Uh, I do think is a knock against it. Um,
Yeah, I think
and I
that's
think we should
fair.
take that into account. I know
I
that
don't
you
know,
watched it and
man.
thought it was not
Nobody
bad.
talked about it. You didn't see the Master Cheek discourse.
The Master Cheek? Oh, the
Yeah,
ass.
because his butt was yeah,
Yeah,
people were
yeah, it
upset.
went around, but I had to be reminded.
Yeah, that's fair. So I think we can put Halo near the bottom of the list. This is one where I personally am probably looking forward to it more than some of the other shows on this list.
Hmm.
But just like Star Wars, it kind of has something to prove. It didn't quite prove it with season
True.
one. I think season one was rough but enjoyable. Like there were some things I really enjoyed and some things that were more interesting than I expected, to be honest. But there were
Good.
also some things that didn't quite work as well, also. So yeah, I think Halo can live lower on the list, even if I'll be watching it pretty early next year. I
I'm
think it
willing
premieres in
to
February.
be impressed. So we'll see how it goes. Any
Okay.
suggestions for the number two slot? I know that Julie wanted, I think it was either Outlander or Umbrella Academy, and I don't want either of those in there.
I think it has
Um,
to be, I'll give you my top four
Go ahead.
contenders.
Go ahead.
I think Three Body Problem,
Sure.
Fallout,
Mm.
or Rings of Power.
Okay. Here's my okay. I'd agree with you on the three body problem.
Oh, you're
Uh,
gonna shit on Fallout? Okay, let's do it.
I'm not gonna shit on. Listen, Fallout is a big, splashy new Amazon drama based on a video game series, very popular video game
Yes, it
series.
is.
It's made by the Westworld people, and that gives me pause. It just does.
Well, okay,
I
that's
liked
fair.
the trailer. I don't think it should be at like near the bottom of the list, but
No, definitely
I
top portion of the list for me, but that's fair. That's
I,
fair.
I
You're
would
not
argue
totally sold.
against putting it in number two. The Rings of Power, I mean, that first season, again,
Wasn't great. Yeah.
not like at the very bottom, but that first season, it was, I enjoyed the first season parts, large parts of it. There,
Hmm.
it got a lot of blowback. I don't think it was completely unwarranted. It was a bit of a shamblingly paced story, maybe too big for its britches, kind of too much going on for them to really manage it in an
Yeah.
entertaining, digestible way. I like the money spent on it. I liked the sights and sounds. I thought some of the character choices were a bit, I don't know, loopy and
This
strange.
this is kind of similar to Halo, honestly, where they had a really big thing. They dumped a ton of money into it, and it didn't quite land. It wasn't terrible, and it wasn't quite like transcendent either. It's kind of
Yeah,
somewhere in the middle where it's like mistakes were made, but a lot of people still enjoyed it. So that's fair. I think I kind of put it higher because I think more curious to see what Rings of Power will do with a second season than some of these. But that's
sure.
also like professional curiosity more than like, God, I can't wait for the Rings of Power season two. Um,
I
so
like Nicole's comment that if the Rings of Power could focus itself a bit more, it'd be much better. You know, I think we forget
yeah.
that in this age of sort of prestige streaming TV, back in the day when I was young in the 70s, it was more common for shows to like take a bit to get going. Like
Yeah.
for first seasons of shows were often like a bit of a rough patch because we were figuring things out. And today, like House of the Dragon is the exception, like a show to kind of
Yes.
come out and just kind of fire on all cylinders right out of the gate. It's actually very rare. And a lot of
Yeah.
shows do take times to like kind of build up and get to where
Totally.
they're going. So the Wheel of Time it happened with, I thought that
I was going
improved
to
in
use that
season
as an
two.
example. Yeah.
Totally. And there's no reason the Rings of Power or Halo couldn't do the same things. But for number two slot, I'd 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 nominate the Three Body Problem or
Let's,
Avatar: The Last Airbender would be my choice. The
I've,
Three Body Problem is based on
okay.
this, like you said, Liu Zhijin's science fiction series, very, very popular. And again, Game of Thrones showrunners Benioff and Dan Weiss coming back, doing it again. I'm curious to see what happens there. I read the book. I liked the book. I'm ready for the show. It it's completely untested. So I think if I had my way, I would put it at three and put The Last Airbender at two. I'm prepared to move on this, don't worry.
Okay.
Because it's based on a show that I love from the 2000s. I think everything I've seen so far looks really good. It's kind of live action version of this animated adventure series based on East Asian mythology. A lot of heart, a lot of humor, a lot of action, a lot of
Hmm.
good old
Hmm.
fashioned entertainment. I think
Okay.
after
Okay.
One Piece, I'm a little more trustful of Netflix's ability to turn an animated show into a live action show. and I am hyped for it. I'm hyped for it.
Okay.
So if I am, that's the test here. So if I had my way, it would probably go House Dragon number one, Last Airbender number two, Three Body Problem number three. But what do you think?
So I man, the One Piece point is a good one where so I like Avatar: The Last Airbender too. I thought I loved the
Mhm.
cartoon. I am really curious to see what Netflix does with this. And they did, talking about goodwill, they won some last year with One Piece. For once, they got an animated live action adaptation that was great. Um, I am so here's what I would say. This is funny because I know virtually nothing about Three Body Problem beyond the very broad strokes. I don't know anything about the story, but I think there is a chance for it to be a really exceptional series.
Mhm, mhm.
Man, Avatar though. I do love me some Avatar. Let me ask you, this will be my deciding factor on whether Avatar or Three Body Problem should go at number two.
I love
Do
interview
you
too.
think, do you think
Uh-huh.
they'll nail the humor?
I don't know. I
Oof.
haven't seen the
All
show.
right.
Um, M. Night Shyamalan certainly didn't in his movie version back in 2010. I think they'll do a better job than that, but the
Yeah.
floor is very low. Leo points out the original creators aren't involved, which is a fair
Yes.
point.
They left.
I They left. Okay. And that's
I
not a
would
great
put three.
sign.
I would put Three Body at two. Like Julie said, she said,
Okay.
please. I'm going to say,
Okay.
please let us agree with Julie. I think Three Bodies should go at two. Avatar should go at three because I am hyped for Avatar. But
Okay.
I think Three Body Problem, that could be another huge like breakout hit that surprises everyone this year. What do you think?
No, I'm with you. Yeah,
Okay.
Three Body Problem at number two because it's kind of a politically safe choice because we really don't know what it's going to be like. But
Yeah,
the
true.
pedigree, the source material is it's classy as shit. It's 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 high-minded. It's naughty and kind of challenging in the way that good hard sci-fi is. The people who making it come very highly recommended. So yeah, I'm comfortable with that. I also forgot
Can
about Interview with the Vampire, because I loved that show too. I loved the first season. I thought it was excellent. I just thought it was took this old story that I've known since I was pretty young, about these two vampires roaming the world together, getting all kinds of trouble, and
Mhm.
redid it in a way that wasn't boring, in a way that brought a lot of freshness to it, and that didn't crap on the source material. And it was just very exciting to watch. Performances are great. Jacob Anderson is great as Louis. Sam Reed's great as Lestat. And I have every reason to believe they'll continue killing it. But so I'd want that pretty high because I liked it an awful lot. Uh, but what else is on here?
So can I nominate? I'm gonna
Yeah.
agree with Andrew Haley, who said this a little while back. I think Arcane should be one of our next choices. I think Arcane deserves to be pretty high up on the list. Season one of Arcane, The Last of Us gets a lot of hype for being like the first great video game adaptation, but
Mhm.
Arcane was excellent, far exceeded any expectations I had. I think was pretty much perfect at what it set out to do. I think it told a really, really compelling story. The animation was incredible. And it left on a really interesting note. So I think Arcane season two should be pretty high up here. What are your thoughts?
What is it? I haven't seen it, and I'll admit I have even though I'm seeing all these video game adaptations do a great job, I still have like a built-in prejudice about how good could it really be? It's based on a multiplayer game. What is
It's
Arcane?
so good. So Arcane, this is what makes it good, is that it is based on a multiplayer game, which means they could just make a good story without worrying about like really making it exactly like the game. So basically Arcane is about these two sisters who grow up in this like steampunk utopia city. Like they're in the slums of the city. And they basically fall in with a crime ring and things go sour for them and they get split up. And then
Oh no.
fast forward like I think 10 years or something. One of
Okay.
them is like one of the most wanted criminals in the city. The other is basically taken, if I remember right, taken out of prison to help hunt down her sister. So there is
No.
like, there's a whole bunch of like family drama. There's another kid from their past who's involved. There are nobles in the upper city who are trying to invent new technology that ends up having some serious ramifications for everything. Um, it took the lore of, so it's based on League of Legends, took the lore
No.
of League of Legends, but then just like made a really compelling story out of it. Um, I Arcane, so you haven't seen Arcane. I haven't seen
No.
Interview with the Vampire.
True
I
that.
think Arcane is it is I really can't sing its praises enough. I thought it was just so
Okay.
good.
So you want it at 4. I'm willing to trust you.
I would
I I will trust you on Arcane that it's this good.
Okay. I Yeah, I think Arcane should be 4. It also ended on a huge cliffhanger too.
All
Where
the best shows
it's
do.
set up the next season in a pretty shocking way. Um yeah, they did. I was so impressed. I did not have high expectations for Arcane. And if you're not hooked on it by like episode 3 has a pretty big twist in it. Then yeah, I'm willing to eat my words, but I think you would probably enjoy it, knowing
Cool.
nothing about League of Legends. So that says something too.
Yeah, I'm willing to go with that. I trust your judgment. And then
Okay.
5 for interview.
Yeah, I think so. I don't see anything I would rank above that. The only other high contender for me is Fallout. And that one is a bit of a wild card, like you said,
It is a bit
because
of a wild
we
card.
the Westworld people, so this is Jonah Nolan and Lisa Joy. They also produced The Peripheral, which I thought was a great show. And everyone likes to crap on Westworld, but the first few seasons of Westworld were very good. Especially the the first season of Westworld. I think Fallout could be excellent, but it is, like you said, it's a wild card. We don't know. So what else would you rank really? Should we jump to the bottom of the list? Should we keep going on number 6? What are your thoughts here?
Let me read some a couple of comments. We got some good comments on here. Some talking about
Okay.
animation in the chat. We got Valorius 3000 agrees with you that Arcane is great. Andrew loves Arcane too. Valorius would have Father at number 1. Okay, let's look at this list. I hear you about the Westworld people. Nolan enjoying making some good stuff. Listen, I'm still hurt. I mean, I still watched Westworld, and I, along with everybody else, was really absorbed by that first season, and then just watched the show melt. Um, yeah, they have to earn back my trust. Although, again, I did like the
Okay.
trailer. I thought the trailer was entertaining. I thought it kind of hit that line between post-apocalyptic action drama and kind of tongue-in-cheek pastiche flavored humor that the games do
Yes,
well.
totally.
The signs are good, but Westworld blew. So I can't give it the full faith and credit of my full-throated endorsement. But it's not going to be at the
Okay.
bottom. Um,
Yeah, I think it should be in the mid to top range. I like, all right, so
soon,
let's look at
soon.
some
Okay.
lower one. I mean, most of the rest of them, honestly, for me, I'm not super hyped for. Like, I think Strange
It's
New
going to be
Worlds
hard.
would be pretty low for me, but that's because I'm not really into it.
Julie suggested The Boys. How hyped are you for The Boys season 4?
I'm tired. I'm tired.
Are you really?
Yeah,
I enjoyed The
a
Boys
little
season 3.
bit. I like The Boys, but The Boys is another one like The Umbrella Academy where it is a lot of fun to watch. And then between seasons, I'm just like, that was a thing that happened. I'm not getting really obsessed with it and thinking about it
Mm,
the way I am some of these
sure.
other shows. Um, I think The Boys, it should be again on the higher end of the list. I think it's probably a contender for, let's say slots 6 through 8. I'm kind of looking at like The Boys, I'm looking at Fallout. Um,
I feel like The Boys has this issue where the guy who makes it, Eric Kripke, like was working in long form cable TV like the CW for
yeah,
like over a decade.
made
And he's
Supernatural.
Supernatural, yeah, ran 15 years. He still sort of makes that show as if he's like working before the streaming revolution, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it
Like
does.
the the seasons are set up to kind of be like a normal TV season where everything sort of not resets, but it kind of ratchets down. It's not the Game of Thrones model of long term. Everything builds and builds and builds and builds and builds and builds and builds until a huge climax. It's a
Yeah.
little more prosaic. Although I do like it. I do think it goes balls to the walls. I do love Homelander. I do think they have a great character in him and kind of like an iconic super powerful sociopath who has caught on in the wider culture. I appreciate it for that. I'm looking forward to it. Um God, what could be after Interview? I think The Boys is a contender. I think Lord of the Rings is a contender. I think Fallout's a contender. I mean, even Doctor Who I'm
I
kind of excited about. Not Outlander, not The Walking Dead,
I think
not
those are
Star Trek,
those are our main ones, the ones you
not
just
Umbrella.
said. So we're looking at Rings of Power, Fallout, and The Boys. And if you want to make the case for Doctor Who, I'm open to it.
Mm.
I'm not into Doctor Who, but I can appreciate the exciting place that the show is in. Um, so why don't we leave the messy middle and jump
Okay.
down to the bottom again? I'm gonna nominate, I think Star Trek Strange New Worlds should be 13. Or no, I take that
Yeah.
back. I think the Umbrella Academy should be 13. Star Trek can be 12. What do you think?
I mean, I'll trust her. Like Star Trek, I haven't really watched, but everyone seems to be quite enjoying some of the new stuff. I feel like they've
Yeah,
kind of leveled off. Like at
I
first, it was a bit
agree.
rough. Discovery, I know, was the thing that people were split on, but Strange New Worlds has been received a lot of positive buzz. Uh, and I know people who like Lower Decks. There's too much, but it feels like they've hit
Yeah,
a groove.
I agree.
The
I'm
Umbrella
willing to budge
Academy,
on Star Trek.
with apologies to Julie, it has lost a lot of hype. It just has. Like people do not seem as psyched about it as they used to be. And I'm going to assume that's in part because season 3 was like a bit of a miss, relatively speaking.
Yeah, and
So
neither does
as
Netflix because one thing I think it's important to mention here, season 4, from what I recall, is only going to be 6 episodes. It's going to
yeah.
go real fast. We left off Invincible because it was only 4. So I think the combination of
Ooh.
the maybe slightly lesser steam with a truncated episode count, which is really hard to do well in a final season. I think
Hmm.
we've seen a lot of shows struggle, like Game of Thrones, The Expanse, struggle to do a really fulfilling final season with that few episodes. So I'm sorry, Julie. I'm happy that you'll get over it though.
Yeah, I'm fine putting Umbrella Academy at number 13. All you
Okay.
did was rave about The Expanse when that final season was on. I remember
I
that.
loved it. Well, let me put it this way. I think they did as good of a job as they possibly could have done
Okay,
with the 6 episodes. And the final episode's like an hour and a half. It's basically like a movie. And so
gotcha.
it's not that it's bad, it's just that it was obvious they had some constraints they were working against to have because it was a lower episode count. There were things that probably could have been even better if they just had more time to breathe. And that was always my big issue with the final season of Thrones as well. I love a lot of
Mhm.
things on it. I just wish
Sure.
they had another episode or two for things to breathe, basically.
What about
And yeah,
sorry, go on.
that's okay. I was just going to agree with Valorius 3000. I think said this about The Boys is it's superhero fatigue. Maybe The Boys and the
Mhm.
Umbrella Academy are kind of unfortunate side casualties of that for me, but I'm not super excited for either of them.
Super take is an interesting phenomenon. Julie says it's on the list, and you may prove incorrect. Then she can laugh. Which, yeah,
Yeah,
I hope we are wrong, and you are cackling over our folly. What
happy to be
about
proven wrong. I'll root for Tom
what?
Hopper. I hope his show has a good final season. Black Sails, he's in
Yes,
that one too.
love that
Okay,
Black Sails.
that's right.
What about The Walking Dead in 12? That is a franchise that just keeps a chugging, even though I think most of the it feels like most of the kind of viewing public who used to be big fans have sort of left it behind. I'm not gonna say it's running on fumes because they have gotten pretty good marks, pretty good, like overall pretty good. And a
Yeah,
series that features the return of two of the show's original big players, Andrew Lincoln and Denai Guerrera, is a biggish deal.
yeah, it
But
is.
I mean, I left Dead behind years ago, and I can't see myself crawling back.
I think so. If this was not Rick and Michonne, it would be a
Hmm.
no-brainer for a low slot. Because it's Rick
Sure.
and Michonne, I feel a little torn. But looking at what else we have left on the list. So these are the remaining shows. I'll read them off so people know.
Good
We
call.
have Rings of Power, Fallout, Doctor Who, The Boys, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and Outlander are our remaining 7 shows. 7? However many fingers I had. Um, I think out of those, The Walking Dead probably does deserve to go in 12.
You
What do
think?
you think?
Oh, I thought you were gonna fight me on that.
It's either that or Star Trek for me. And I'm willing. Walking Dead is another one of those series where it has stuff to prove, which I guess is like, I guess if we've been going through the streaming wars and had, this golden age of more shows, the theme of 2024 seems to be streamers, you have stuff to prove. You're all trying to put ads on your platforms now. You've burnt a lot of goodwill with viewers.
So much.
And The Walking Dead is a great example of this, where they really tanked their final season, in my opinion, to set up a slew of spinoffs to make it a never-ending series. And Dead City, I heard, was pretty good. Daryl Dixon was pretty decent too. Um,
Good.
so it could be that
Decent.
The Ones Who Live is great, but it's got to prove that it will be first, I think.
Okay, so that's fine.
Whew.
I'm Walking Dead and Star Trek for 12 and 11.
Sure. If you think Strange New Worlds, wait, wait. This is silly. So are you going to watch The Ones Who Live?
No,
Okay. Are you going to watch Strange New Worlds?
maybe.
Oh, okay.
I
Then
keep
then let's
hearing great things about it.
then let's put Strange New Worlds at 11. What do you think of that?
I I I suggested it.
Oh,
I'm
great.
all in.
I didn't know who said, I'm sorry. I saw Julie in the chat. Yes. So let's go with your suggestion then. That sounds great. I need more coffee.
Or less.
Never. You take that back.
Okay. Okay, good. We're moving along. We're chugging. We're getting stuff done. So okay, we have a healthy 5 left.
A healthy
God.
5. I
We
think we need to put
cannot.
Outlander at 10.
I was going to suggest that. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm being a bit petty though, because Outlander is one that I'm not really interested in personally. But has it earned more goodwill than, say, the Rings of Power? I'm getting nervous.
Yes.
Like right now, you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Outlander is never so for context here, I've been watching Outlander since it started. I
Mhm.
stopped watching it after I think during season 6. I did not see all of season 6. I haven't watched season 7. So 6 is the one that was a pandemic season. It was shortened. It was still
Yeah.
good. They just clearly had to, they didn't run as many episodes as they wanted. Season 7 is like the big return to form. It's the first time the show has done a split season since,
Hmm.
I want to say, season 2. It used to be a normal thing it did, where it like in the
Sure.
first few seasons, where they aired some in the fall and then some in the spring.
Like back in the day.
Um, back in the day, back when Game of Thrones was on, and Outlander was one of the few actual contenders it had in the same sort of genre space. So I think, yeah, Outlander is now this is its second. From what I seem to have heard, uh, there are some classic locations here at the end. Ooh, okay. Julie says, I love Outlander, but agree it has been a bit off. But I keep hoping for better things. And Nicole says, yeah, it's made by Ronald Moore, who also made For All Mankind, also made the 2000s Battlestar Galactica remake.
Yes, he did.
Amazing, amazing creative. So, yeah, I think Outlander. It's funny that you want to put Rings of Power lower than Outlander. I feel like that's fair, but also, are we going to talk more about Rings of Power? Like, probably.
Oh, us? Yeah. But
Yeah.
will it be better? Like the Rings of Power
Well, this isn't
hard,
this is hype.
and
It's not quality,
it is
right?
hype. And it is our personal perspective. Although we want to like try and be this like mix of subjective and objective, which is precarious but fun. Okay, I'm with you. Fine. Outlander at number 10. I'm willing
You
to put
want
it
to
there.
put Rings of Power at 9 then? Is
I
that
don't
where you're
think I
leaning?
could, in good conscience, put it somewhere else. I guess
Yeah, I think
we'll
that's
keep
fair.
saying the same thing we're saying. It has a lot to prove. That's the title of this show.
2024,
That's
everyone.
the title of 20. You have a lot, you have a lot of nerve, 2024.
That's a lot to prove.
2024 is a lot to prove. It does. It came in with a lot of promotion, a lot of advertising, and it ended up being pretty hit and miss.
Yeah.
So, and again, like shows often get better in the second seasons. It's happened recently. It's just like nowadays when shows cost so much up front, it's kind of embarrassing when they aren't really good right out of the gate. Because
yeah, I think you're hitting the nail on the head. You know, when you're making the most expensive show in history and it has misfires in its first season, yeah, that is definitely, it is interesting how the public perception is, you know, we want it to be an immediate hit. And you're right, a lot of shows do take time to find their footing. But like Valorius said, I'm more excited for Outlander and haven't even seen the latest season. And like, I agree with that. Like, I am thinking about getting back into Outlander because of, you know, kind of the word of mouth of season 7 and just where it's at in the series, you know, nearing its end, this really long running prestigious series.
It's true.
Whereas
it is wrapping up.
Yeah, the Rings of Power, it's, you know, we've got Sauron out there in the open now, giving Galadriel the eyes and, you know, maybe finding an army of orcs somewhere. So I'm sure it'll be interesting, but I don't think there's any way it outranks our other 3 remaining shows, personally.
I agree. Put it on there. I had a point. Oh yeah, it's like back in the day, like The Office or Seinfeld had like kind of weakish first seasons, but they were with like fairly unknown people and they didn't have any special effects, and you can get away with that. You can't get away with that anymore if you have a show like The Rings of Power. Like it's just not the same thing. You need to justify your budget.
Yeah. Well, I think justifying why there's a weaker season too. Like there were a lot of shows that did have kind of rocky seasons, like you said, and a lot of them were due to budget things or like during the writer's strike, the last one, there were a lot of shows that had truncated first seasons. Like I want to say Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead both had very short first seasons. And they were still good. That's the thing. They were still good, but they weren't the level of excellent that the shows grew to be. So yeah, it is.
And they were still smaller scale. Like Breaking Bad is not House of the Dragon or the Rings of Power. At the end of the day, it's about a bald guy in Albuquerque who lives in a van and cooks, you know, food probably. I don't know. It's not expansive Middle Earth stuff. Yeah.
The Bear is a spinoff.
It's The Bear. Yeah. Breaking Bad, The Bear. Okay.
Man,
so
that's
we got
a show
left.
I'm hyped for to come back.
Okie dokie. I have a pretty good idea of what the next 3 should be.
Me too.
I will pitch it to you now. I
Okay.
would put Doctor Who at 8. I'd put The Boys at 7. I put Fallout at 6.
Wow, I expected to have to fight for Fallout here. That's exactly how I would
It
rank
looks
them too.
fun.
It
Oh,
does look fun.
now that I say it though, perhaps Fallout should be at 7 and The Boys at 6.
Ah, should it though? Should it? Should it? You
Should
didn't even
8 be
watch
Doctor
Gen
Who?
V. Eight should be Doctor Who. I think definitely. Um,
I wanted to include
again,
Doctor Who because obviously it's a show with a very long pedigree. It's been around since the 1960s and it's had ups and downs. There's more energy around it right now with the return of Russell T
yes,
Davies, who is a great hype man. He's so good at getting out
he
there and
is.
talking up stuff and kind of
Yep,
crafting these events. Like he made these specials that had David Tennant in them. He got people, I don't know, talking about Doctor Who again. And
truth.
I'm not sure if he'll be able to sustain that level of interest into a brand new season with a brand new actor. But the signs are good. It doesn't really have anything to prove. It's been on for frickin' ever. It can do what
Yeah,
it wants pretty much. But I'm more interested than I have been in a while, and I think it should be in the list. In another year, I'm not sure it would even get on the top 15 list. But this year, I think it should be represented.
I agree with everything you just said about it. I
That's
think
awesome.
in a normal year, it probably would be much lower or not on the list. Doctor Who, it doesn't necessarily have something to prove, but also it kind of is acting like it does, just in terms of Russell T Davies coming back, these David Tennant
Yeah,
specials leading into this new Doctor. It is one of the most interesting times in recent Doctor Who memory, and I am not a Doctor Who, I'm not a Whovian, but I can
good man.
definitely appreciate where it's at and where the fans are at with that show. So yeah, I think that's 8. You know, I personally am obviously more hyped for Rings of Power, but I think we should keep Doctor Who at 8. I think that's very reasonable,
I agree.
respectable.
I can't rank Rings of Power too high considering the first season was as choppy as it was. I just can't.
That's fair.
But it should be on there. Okay, so the final two spots, The
Yes.
Boys and Fallout, which
Uh,
goes where? I do think, given my druthers, I'd probably put The Boys at 6 and Fallout at 7. I think The Boys, I know that you're kind of fading on it. And I mean,
I am.
I guess I'm just not. I'm
You haven't even
maybe
watched the latest, boys.
yeah, I didn't watch the spinoff. I don't have to
The
watch the spinoff.
spinoff, you do have to watch the spinoff. So that's
Not
where
according
the
to the
boys is
producers.
at. Well, the producers are lying to you for better
They probably
press.
are, yeah.
The Gen V absolutely sets up the next season of The Boys in multiple ways. It is the same timeline. It features a bunch of the same characters. It has cliffhangers that are a direct setup for the next season. Eric Kripke playing his pre-streaming game might tell you, you don't need to watch the crossovers to get, you don't need to watch Angel to appreciate Buffy or whatever. But we all
But you didn't.
know that which you didn't, but you could get more out of those crossovers if you
Yeah, I
did.
guess.
And that is absolutely the way that Gen V is geared. And it's getting a second season that is probably going to come out after season 4. I think Fallout deserves to be 6 because it is a very bold endeavor. It is canon to the games, which for people who are into the games, that's like, wait, what? So this is a new story that is being made with the blessing of the game studio, Bethesda, that
Hmm.
is still in line, not going to contradict anything they've done. I think they've captured the Fallout humor, at least from the trailer. Um, I think there is a chance that Fallout will blow up and be huge, similar to how something like,
Sure.
I don't think it will be quite like The Last of Us, because that was a very specific thing where they had a Breaking Bad level story in a video game. All they had to do was not mess it up. This is
Yeah.
an instance where it's like the story, they can really do whatever the hell they want as long as they nail the tone and the world. I think there's a chance Fallout could be a mega hit this year, and I think The Boys is gonna just be more of the boys. And season 3 was not a mega hit. I'm
It
sorry
was a
to
hit
say.
though. It was as consistent. It was about the same level as been, which is quite solid. And it
It was
has a timely breakout character star narrative around it, which the source material for that has not exhausted itself. Like this being an election year and
that's
the
true.
boys kind of digging into satire the way it does, it's always been at its best when it's coming along at the right time. And this could be the
Yeah,
right time. I I
that is
don't
true.
like the fact that you have to watch Gen V. I'm still not sure because I made the Angel Buff comparison. I'm like, you did not have to watch those. I remember those. I'm very, very old.
That was a bad
Um,
comparison. It's more than Angel was for
okay,
Buffy. The tie-in
gotcha.
for Gen V. It
And
is
I don't
greater.
like that. I don't like it kind of has spin-off poisoning. I'm not sure
It
how I feel
does.
about like it's a canon Fallout game though either, because that also kind of smacks of integration, synergy, cross branding stuff that is gives me actually raising an eyebrow a little bit. I think I'm honestly not quite convinced. I think we should put it to a vote. Um,
Okay, I'm okay with I think that's the right choice because I was like, do we flip a coin? Because I don't think we're gonna convince either one of us to go the other way here. So in the chat, right? Do we
wait,
want
wait, no, I'm changing my mind because Andrew said what I was just thinking, and it swayed me to your
Ooh.
side. Gen V is to the boys as Book of Boba Fett is to Mandalorian. If that's true, then Gen V can go to hell because I was literally just thinking. So my partner and I used to watch The Mandalorian, and then we watched the Book of Boba Fett, which is like all of so boring. No, I watched it, and then I told them like it's totally set up the next season of The Mandalorian, which you had to watch it if you wanted to see The Mandalorian. What happens next? And then they stopped watching. They're like, I'm not doing that. That's ransom. That's holding me hostage. Like, that's
That's
bullshit.
ransom.
So if
Yeah.
that's what Gen V is like, I do disapprove.
So I'm gonna give you some context here without spoiling too much. So I think
Quickly, we gotta wrap up.
Andrew is right. With the note that Gen V is really good. So Gen
Mhm.
V is a much better
That's nice.
show than Book of Boba Fett. It's worth watching on its own, but it introduces things at the end which are going to be main plot points for the Boys season 4. So basically, there is you've edited reviews and stuff for this, so you probably know the
Yeah.
broad strokes. They
Yeah,
introduced this idea of a soup
I'm aware.
disease, basically. And that's not something where it's just like, oh, an afterthought in Gen V. Like Gen V is about that to a certain extent.
Mm,
Uh, and then the end sets up, oh, this is how the characters from the boys know about it because this whole thing happened in Gen V and they happen to have found out that way. Um, so I do think that's right. How much that's the case will we kind of have to wait and see until the boys season 4 comes out, but
right.
it is similar. It's a similar
Okay.
sitch.
I hope, and I think they will do it more smoothly than the boys and
I
than
think
Disney
so
The
too.
Mandalorian. But invoking it gives me bad feelings, and so I'm on board with you. That okay, fine.
Woo!
The boys number 7 and Fallout number 6, and then we have a list.
And then we have a list. And if Fallout's terrible, I'm happy to fall on the sword and eat my hat or whatever at the end of the year. But
You will.
I've got faith. It's gonna be a good one. So we'll see.
Let's read this list out. Okay. This is our list of the 15 most hotly anticipated, hype, if you will, shows of 2024. Number 1, House of the Dragon. The Dragon's back, baby. Year of the Dragon. Let's go. Number 2,
That's
Three
right.
Body Problem. Game of Thrones showrunners return for a high concept, challenging sci-fi extravaganza. Number 3, Avatar: The Last Airbender. This time, good. Number 4, Arcane. I haven't seen it. You love it. I'm gonna trust you. Dystopia. Number
Animated
5, Interview with the
masterpiece.
Vampire, season 2. The first season was terrific. Looking forward to the second one with much earnesty. Number 6, Fallout. I hope it's good. People love the video games. Trailer looked great. Westworld people, dicey, but we'll see. Number 7, The Boys. It's still good. Season 4. It's still fun. It's still subversive. It's still exciting. I'm into it. Number 8, Doctor Who has a bit of a revival going on. New old showrunner, new actors. Let's get into it. Number 9, The Rings of Power, Season 2. First season kind of dodgy, but I like Lord of the Rings and Middle-earth, willing to give you a second chance. Number 10, Outlander, time-traveling romance. 1 or 2 more times. Let's go. Number 11, all things Star Trek. Star Trek Strange New Worlds. A lot of good press, a lot of good buzz. Will this be the year it goes all the way to the final frontier? Number 12, The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. It's cool that Rick and Michonne are coming back, but man, this franchise has been around a while and it's getting kind of long of a tooth. Number 13, The Umbrella Academy, 4th and final season. Show is fun, but sort of diminishing over the years, but I'll watch the final one. Why not? Number 14, The Halo Show. It's a thing. And number 15, Star Wars, The Acolyte, Star Wars Skeleton Crew. More Star Wars might be decent. We'll see. And those are our 15 most hyped shows of 2024. Do you like the list, Daniel? Do you like the list, people out there?
I do. This list feels right to me. It resonates deep in my soul that we have plumbed the depths of our nerd knowledge. We have taken into account all of you guys in the chat. Thank you so much for being so active today. And I am confident that at this time next year, or at the end of this year, we'll look back and think, man, we were spot on with our list of the 15 most hyped shows of 2024.
Yeah. We'll do that in 12 months' time. But between then, we'll have tons of shows every week, every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Here on the Winter Is Coming YouTube page and Facebook page, we'll talk about all things sci-fi, fantasy, movies, TV. We'll review these shows as they come out, if they're worth reviewing, good or bad. Apparently, I'm hilarious. I don't know what I said.
No, but, Julie's comment. Agree with 1 and 15. Fair, Julie.
Agree with 1 and 15. Okay. And if you want to hear some podcast form, you can download us wherever podcasts are available, be it Google, iTunes, or elsewhere. And just join us every Wednesday, all year. We're going to grow this channel. We're going to grow a community. We're going to give you top shelf discussion and content. It's going to be awesome. You guys are great. You guys are funny. You guys are witty. You guys can give great comments. Hope to see you all year. And just join us all year for getting the first and last things correct. Goodbye. See you next week.
Take care, all.